like to call to order the Proctor City Council meeting for Monday, August 2nd, 2021. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Form a roll call. Councilor Benson? Councilor Reuter?
Present.
Councilor Johnson?
Here.
Councilor DeWall?
Present.
Mayor Ward's also present. Please let the minutes reflect all others in attendance. Chief Gatis, Ted Teapot, Attorney Bray, and Administrator Rich. Looking for a motion to approve the City Council meeting minutes from Monday, July 19th, 2021.
So moved.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to approve the agenda. Before making that motion, I do have a couple additions I'd like to add. I'd like to add 3A, Small Cities Assistance Program. 3B, Custodial Services, RFP. 3C, American Rescue Plan Act funds. 3D, COVID-related items. 6D, Fire Department resignation. And 6E, SRO resolution. Everyone get those changes? All right, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to approve the amended agenda.
So moved.
Councilor DeWall made the motion. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. At this time, we'll take comments and suggestions from the citizens present. If you're viewing it via YouTube, our call-in number is 218-628-6289. Again, that call-in number is 218-628-6289. We'll give it a minute or so. Hearing none, we'll move on. Looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda. I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda, pulling items 3A, 3B, 3C, and 3D.
Second that.
Councilor Reuter seconds that motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 3A, Small Cities Assistance Program. Administrator Rich.
Thank you, Mayor. This was recently sent to, we knew that this assistance was coming. We did receive payment today, and you have in front of you what these funds can be used for. And so I'm giving you this information so that you can keep it in mind, and we'll make decisions about the use of the funds during the upcoming budget process.
Thank you. Any discussion for that Small Cities Assistance Program? Hearing none. Oh, Councilor Benson.
So what are we planning on doing with this? Is this just for our review, or do we have projects for this program?
As I stated, we'll talk about the uses for that in the budget. As we flesh out the budget for 2022, we can find where maybe some projects are needed or where you want to designate that as the budget develops.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on. That will bring us to 3B, RFP for custodial services. Administrator Rich.
As we are open more towards the public and people, there's more use of the building, we're finding that our plan for cleaning services for 2 days a week isn't enough, and we need more time. We received a quote from the current cleaners, and by adding a couple more days, I feel like that's changing the scope of the work. And so I think that it would be prudent to go out for requests for proposals. And the current company can certainly bid as well, or submit a proposal. But the scope of the work has changed substantially. Also, when the current company was hired, we still had a janitor on staff that was working very part-time, and that has changed since then as well. So I am just presenting this to you to take a look at it, and I will ask for approval of it at the next council meeting. If you have any comments and questions, you can direct them to me between now and then.
Thank you. Does anyone have any discussion on that currently, or if not at the moment, you can always reach out to Administrator Rich.
So you said 2 days is not enough? Is 3 enough?
I'm proposing 4
4?
in the,
Okay.
yep, in the RFP.
Okay.
And will 4 days, Administrator Rich, cover when we open back up, or?
I believe so.
Okay.
One of the mandatory days would be Mondays, so it would cover any cleaning from rentals over the weekend.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 3C, ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds. Administrator Rich.
Yeah, so this is under unfinished business. And we received our first installment today. It was just over $160,000. We do have 2 years to spend the money, so there's no immediate decisions that need to be. We'll get 2 installments, one now and one next year. And what Finance Director Broomfeld and I suggest is we discuss the uses of those funds and how to spend them at our upcoming budget discussions as well.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions regarding that? Councilor Benson?
Thank you. So at the time, there is no plan on how the money will be spent, but it'll be discussed under budgets.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll move on to 3D, COVID-related issues. Administrator Rich.
So as you may all have know, the CDC is recommending all vaccinated and unvaccinated people to wear a mask. We had discussions of that this morning in the office. Currently, your reopening plan says that all unvaccinated people should wear masks. And so I think that a council discussion should be had on the masks and our reopening plan. We should also discuss about, we have not made a decision of reopening to the public for events here at City Hall. And then also maybe a discussion on public events is in order. My recommendation would be we don't have our emergency order in place anymore. My recommendation is our policy would be to follow all CDC guidelines as they come out.
Okay, you heard the recommendation from Administrator Rich. Is there a motion to follow all CDC guidelines as they become available? Councilor Benson.
I'll make the motion, but I'd like to hear it one more time because I couldn't understand it. Nothing's written down in front of me, so.
And I'll second it for discussion purposes.
So could you repeat your recommendation, Administrator Rich?
Yep. I asked the council to consider and have discussion about mask wearing in City Hall. Currently, the reopening policy is for unvaccinated people only. We should have a discussion or an action such as you just took on opening City Hall for rentals. if we're going to, right now we are closed to outside rentals. And then finally have a discussion about public events.
So I think we'll start with the masks first. Counselor Benson, was your motion in regards to masks, mask wearing as far as following the CDC guidelines?
Yes.
And Counselor Johnson, that was your second as well for
Yeah.
discussion?
Yeah.
So you heard the motion and the second. Any discussion?
The discussion from myself is, can you quickly tell us what the new guidelines are?
I believe the guidelines are, they're recommending all vaccinated and unvaccinated people to wear masks.
Okay.
In public spaces?
In public
So then we're just dealing with the masks right now.
Yep. Yeah, we'll take the other two items that Administrator Rich wants us to discuss later, but let's deal with the mask first.
And
Go ahead, Counselor Wolf.
that was for indoor,
Yes, all
only,
indoor public
not
spaces, yes.
outdoor.
Yep. And my question to council, I guess, would be if we put the plastic barriers back up, would we be comfortable not wearing a mask as long as we got the dividing plexiglass in between us, or do we still wear the mask at that point?
Personally, I think if we got the plexiglass back up, we could go like we did for several months. You wear your mask in, take it off, because you're contained.
We're social distance, we got the barrier in between us.
So I would have no objections to that. But I think anyone entering should be wearing a mask, because I don't want to have to see the food shelf go back to outside again. But I think we should set the standard that they need to be wearing masks again.
And the same would be for city employees within their cubicle. They can take their mask off, correct, Administrator? Yeah. That would be my idea for masks. Everyone in wears one. If you're in your own cubicle space or divider in between us, you can take it off. If you gotta get up and go somewhere else, put the mask back on. And that goes for the general public. We'd recommend that they wear masks, and elected officials and city staff. Is that what you were looking for?
And
Go ahead.
do we still have supplies of the free masks so we can, because some people are going to forget when they come. I think it would be good to have a box laying out there at the entrance between the police department office and administration office.
And are we gonna put signage up to say that too?
Yes.
Is there a distancing also? Is it the 6 feet or is it the 3 feet, or isn't there?
There is not a distancing.
There's not. Okay, thank you.
Yet. This just came out about 2 hours ago that they're recommending masks again, so. I'm sure it'll be changing overnight again, but we'll play it by ear.
So just so I get this straight, the motion was that we would follow all CDC guidelines, but we're making our policy for our building for masks. So what if CDC changes the policy between now and the next meeting? I see it as Administrator Rich has the authority based on our discussion tonight to change
If the C-
however,
Yeah, if the CDC drops their mask mandate or recommendation,
or
Then-
improves it, or.
yeah.
That was my intention with asking to follow CDC, so we don't have to have special meetings, we don't have to come back every 2 weeks, rehash it out, unless, of course, someone starts feeling uncomfortable with, or wants to go above and beyond the CDC guidelines.
Any other discussion?
I just have to make a comment on the fact that I can see us wearing a mask when we come into the building and sit here, but we've been, for the last 2-3 months, we've all been sitting here without masks, without shields and everything, and we don't have any public here with us. I don't see why we need to put the plexiglass back up and, sit here like we are bandits, but I'll go along with whatever the council wants.
And my outlook on it, Counselor Reuter, and I had a conversation with Attorney Bray before the meeting, but if the county health department or CDC is making a recommendation like that, as far as a liability clause, and Attorney Bray, correct me if I'm wrong, but we should probably follow their recommendation, just for liability purposes. I agree with you, Counselor, but,
I agree with what you said.
okay,
Okay.
thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Motion and second on the floor, so all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That'll bring us to rentals within the city hall, or the community center. What does council want to see with the rentals? Or Administrator Rich, I don't know if you had a recommendation on that as well, or floor is open for discussion.
My recommendation is to remain closed for rentals.
Remain
I
closed.
feel like it would be too hard for us to monitor. It's going to immediately increase your cleaning costs because we're already in need of additional cleaning. And if we and then, there is no CDC guidelines as far as gatherings and restrictions. So that means that these rooms and hallways could be filled to capacity. And we would have to up our cleaning plan.
Do you know currently, are there any upcoming events that were going to be held within these walls?
I don't know, but I know today our community ed personnel, Jocelyn, was in her office. She's in once a week, and I heard her phone. She probably fielded about 15 phone calls for rental inquiries. And we keep telling them that the reopening guidelines is we're not open. I guess we're just looking for affirmation from the council. That's you want to continue in that direction, or if you'd like us to move in another.
I'll make a motion to keep the rentals closed for the time being. If there's a second,
I'll second that for discussion.
Councilor DeWall seconds that. Any further discussion?
I would like to also look at, as we go through these RFPs for the cleaning and send that out, I'd like to make sure that we have our adjusted overhead expense-wise figured in for the additional cleaning. So at some point down the road, if and when we do decide to open up, we kind of have those numbers figured out with Jocelyn. Because I agree with you, there's going to be increased cost of doing business.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That'll bring us to public events. I know we have a big public event coming up here in a couple weeks.
Tomorrow.
Or tomorrow, as a matter of fact, yes. I guess, Councilor Ridge, I don't want to step on your toes. Did you have a recommendation here?
Well, I did meet with Bridget Peterson from the Proctor Area Lions Club this morning to discuss what their plans may be for COVID and the changing CDC guidelines. And I think we kind of settled on the same approach that we're taking with the fireworks, that we're going to continue planning. They're going to continue planning. They'll continue to monitor the CDC guidelines and recommendations on a daily basis, because it could change weekly, monthly, daily, who knows. But as far as their planning is considered, it's a go unless the guidelines say something different. And that is a public statement that I assisted her in developing this morning. So I guess that would be my recommendation for other public events, is to, again, watch and monitor the CDC guidelines and follow those as they come.
You heard the recommendation from Administrator Rich. Is there a motion to go with that recommendation?
We need,
What's that?
if we don't have any restrictions on it now, do we need one? Or do we want to make a motion just that they follow CDC guidelines, or? Because right now, everything's a go and we haven't stopped anything. Do we need to take action, or?
Yeah, and I think I don't think we do, but I do think if things start changing, a lot of these events aren't city events; they're just held on
Yep.
city property. So I think we got to work with the event coordinators too, like Administrator Rich said with the Lions Club for Hoghead, or the powerhouse, whoever's holding an event. I think the motion could just be follow CDC recommendations, and if council feels that there needs to be more conversations at that time, then we can always bring it forward.
Okay.
So
I'll make
you-
that motion.
Councilor Reuter made that motion. Is there a second? Signed by Councilor Johnson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to 6A. Resolution 29-21, tax forfeit land request. In your packet was a request from One Roof Community Housing to buy a parcel of land. Attached was a resolution 29-21 requesting from St. Louis County on behalf of the state of Minnesota certain tax forfeit land for the purpose of providing affordable single-family housing. Just looking for a motion to approve resolution 29-21. I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Reuter. Any further discussion? Councilor Benson.
The request is for the home will be sold to a household. Does that include the property as well?
Yes, it does.
So it's the land and the building.
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6B, Tourism Committee Funding Request. Tourism is recommending that the City Council approve a funding request of $500 to the Naughty Wood Carvers for their annual show. Looking for a motion to approve that request.
So move.
Councilor Johnson made the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Sent by Councilor Benson. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6C, 3rd Street Catch Basin and Sidewalk Replacement. In your packet was some bids awarded to Senate Blacktop, along with a map for the project site. It's staff's recommendation to approve quote number 3 and approve quote number 1, but they had no recommendation on quote number 2. Total staff recommendation is $19,568, and council discretion of adding the additional $11,165. What's council's pleasure on these quotes? I'll make a motion to go ahead with staff's recommendation of approving quote number 3 in the amount of $5,000 and approving quote number 1 in the amount of $14,568 to fix the storm catch basin replacement on 3rd Street. You heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Councilor DeWall seconds that. Any discussion? Councilor DeWall.
This is coming out of the sidewalk fund and sewer, or just sewer?
The catch basin part of the project is coming out of storm sewer, which,
Is sewer.
yep. And then the sidewalk project is coming out of the mayor's $50,000 sidewalk budget.
Thank you.
Which fund was that? The sidewalk?
It was the $50,000 that you had designated in the budget towards sidewalk repairs.
Okay.
Administrator Rich, the sidewalk in blue there, what type of shape is that in? Any idea?
It is in poor condition, not as bad as the yellow and the red. And the reason why staff has no recommendation is there's sidewalks on both sides of the street. And if that section of 3rd Street is ever repaired, then all of the sidewalks in that area, especially the area on the blue on the other side, will be addressed. It kind of turns in from a commercial area to a residential area. There, I mean, this one side is commercial, but the other side is residential. And that is why we have no recommendation. It would be nice to get them repaired, but it is making us go rather over budget on our sidewalk repair.
Something we could look at in the future, maybe funding more sidewalk repairs. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Benson.
And this might be slightly off topic, but it talks about sidewalk replacement, and I know there's one on Fifth Street and another one on Third Avenue where a chunk of sidewalk is missing. Is that going to be, are those going to be taken care of as well this?
Were those ones, are those just regular maintenance issues, or were those related to water breaks or other, could you tell
One-
in the area?
One looks like it was part of the fire hydrant replacement or upgrade, and the one on Fifth Street, I'm not sure of.
Okay, so those, if they are water-related breaks, those would be addressed by Puck, and they have been asked to take a look at what patches and repairs they need to do due to water breaks. This one in particular, Councilor Benson, it just made sense to look at because it was, you were replacing the catch basin at the same time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Hearing none, there's a motion and second on the floor. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6D, Fire Department resignation. On the desk before you this evening was a letter from Anthony Baseflug asking for us to accept his resignation effective immediately from his position of firefighter paramedic from the Proctor Fire Department due to moving out of the area. Is there a motion to accept Anthony's resignation?
I'll move to accept.
Councilor DeWall made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Reuter seconds that. Any further discussion? Just like to thank Anthony for his years of service on the department. It's a thankless job, so thanks for the time and commitment you put in. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. 6E, SRO resolution. Councilor Benson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. And sorry for the late addition to the agenda on that one. There's a sample resolution as well as the motion we made last year, which was in October, I believe the first meeting in October. So the request before you is at least to begin the discussions on SRO. I just found out this evening that the city and police department and the school are discussing the SRO, but I just thought it would be better if we could approve it prior to the start of the school year. I know we have one more meeting left, and the council wishes to defer it until then, that would be fine. It does not have to be acted on this evening.
Can we push it off to next meeting? Because there's a lot of reading here. Councilor Benson, this is a resolution directing the mayor and city clerk to execute and deliver an agreement between the Proctor Police Department and Proctor Public Schools for the police school liaison officer. Would we want our chief of police involved like he has been in the past?
Yes, I think that would be very appropriate.
Well, what's council's,
My thought was to direct the city administrator and police chief the ability to enter into negotiations. At the end of the day, it's going to come before us anyway for approval.
is that your motion, Council?
That's my motion.
Councilor DeWall? You heard a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilor Reuter seconds that. Any further discussion?
Ms. Mayor?
Counselor Benson.
Yeah, and my concern just centers around putting an officer in the school and waiting, a month before we get around to approving it. There may be some liability problems, hopefully not, but, getting this taken care of before school, I think, would be helpful for all parties.
Chief Gatus, I don't mean to throw you on the spot here, but have you been in talks with the school at all regarding renewing the agreement between the school and the city? Or Administrator Rich, if you know? Okay,
Hear me?
gotcha.
Okay, so the superintendent wants to sit down and talk to the city administrator and myself about upcoming school year. So they want to plan a meeting, but no meeting has been planned or set up yet. So this would be nice, yes, if the council made a motion for us to proceed with this.
And I could add, I'd like to see it done in the next month.
Yeah, and
Because
that
I
was,
agree with Councilor Benson, it would be nice to, so that would be basically a month that they would have to deliver back to us some kind of tentative agreement.
Yeah, I told them that this week wasn't going to be a good week with everything going on this week. Last week wasn't good with everything going on, so it'd be the second week of August. That's when we're planning on sitting down and talking before Hoghead, before that week.
perfect. Any other discussion? Thank you, Chief. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. That will bring us to members' concerns. Administrator Rich?
All of mine in item C.
All right, thank you. Counselor Benson?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Even though we did not enter into any discussions, I certainly want to thank the administration and especially the finance director for providing those quarterly financial updates, and certainly Councilor DeWall's suggestion that insistence almost that we get it. It's extremely helpful to me, and I certainly appreciate it. And if you could pass that along, greatly appreciated. The other thought was, I noticed in other communities that have public works, if they had a spare plow or V-plow, and it appears that we have a V-plow sitting close to Pionk Drive, if that could get painted and perhaps put on their Proctor Public Works, just for some additional branding, especially with the football season starting, and the traffic that's down there, just to kind of class it up a little. But I think would help the city's branding. And I think that's almost it. Oh, perhaps one other one, if Mr. Mayor, if I could.
The floor is yours, Counselor.
Newspapers have been struggling over, the past few years, and there's this Local Journalism Sustainability Act, and I would certainly encourage any of us, if we happen to run into our congressman, Congressman Stauber, to approve that. Representative Hallam, Minnesota is on the House side, and certainly Senator Klobuchar on the Senate side. And what the Sustainability Act does, it provides a 5-year credit up to $250 annually for people to get subscriptions. It provides a 5-year credit, $5,000 a year to businesses to advertise. And it really is something that helps the community, certainly helps newspapers individually. So again, if you happen to see our congressman, please encourage him to sign on this bipartisan bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. We'll move on to Counselor DeWall.
2 items. First off, wanted to thank Administrator Rich and Mayor Ward for giving me the opportunity of attending the Commissioners meeting in the county last Tuesday. It was quite an experience to see them there. Of course, Representative Mary Murphy was in attendance as well, and I hope it went well. But it was kind of my first meeting I've ever attended, so it was interesting. Second, tomorrow, National Night Out. I know the Proctor Fire and Proctor Police have some plans. We'll have to, I'm assuming we're still going to proceed forward, being it's more or less outdoors, but we'll be on our best behavior and try to walk the line as best as we can, but looking forward to cooking some hot dogs and brats. So looking forward to citizens of Proctor to come out, enjoy it with their family. And lastly, I just want to thank Director of Finance Leslie again for the quarterly updates. It's nice to get kind of a shed on light here what's going on in the city financially. So thanking her for all her hard work. That is all.
Thank you, Counselor. And Commissioner Musoff did call me later that afternoon and said you did an excellent job, so thank you for welcoming them. Counselor Johnson.
I just want to thank Administrator Rich with the Historical Society meeting that we had. She did a really nice job.
Awesome. Thank you. Counselor Reuter.
Just a couple quick things. Now that we've decided everybody has to wear masks, are we going to take the signs down and put them, different signs up saying everybody's got to have one now, I hope. And the second thing is that now that they're chip sealing Crooked Street, I'm assuming they're going to come along and start that pretty soon. Can we talk to the county about doing a crosswalk on Boundary Avenue? At least find out if it's something they're willing to do this.
Yeah, I do have that on my list to talk to them about it when
Okay.
they come back in and stripe.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I just have a few things. This last Thursday, I had the pleasure of presenting Frank Ciro with a plaque for 25 years of service with the St. Louis County Fair Board. The fair was this last week, their 100th anniversary. Due to a tragic accident, I think we all noticed that there weren't many rides up there, no rides, but I want to thank the Irving Community Club for stepping up and renting all the bouncy houses so they could at least have some fun activities for the kids up there. And Councilor DeWall hit on it, but from 5 to 7 tomorrow, the police and fire departments will be having National Night Out, so come on down and see all the wonderful volunteers and police officers that we have working for the city. That is all I got. Attorney Bray.
Nothing for me.
Nothing for you. That being said, we'll look for a motion to approve the bills. They're not listed because the bills came out late Friday, but the general was $70,476.95. Liquor was $40,361.49 for a total for bills to approve is $110,838,000.44.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Councilor Reuter made the motion. Councilor Johnson seconds it. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Councilor DeWall made the motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Motion passes. Thank you.